Hello, everyone. Welcome back to what the hell am I doing here? Oh, the RationalInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Back. Merry, happy Christmas. And actually, we're supposed to say happy holidays these days now, eh? Hey, look at that. It's running. I don't know if anybody's even going to watch this or not, but it's always fun to do these videos. Actually, cool to see. A few people popped into the hangout here with me this morning. So, hi guys. Nice to see all you diehards, rocker. In fact, we even got someone in the hangout here called Rocker. Anyway, so good morning, everybody. And thank you, Kevin, for letting me know that I've got the page set up correctly. I think I've done this right, but I don't know. It's weird. I've sort of clued out. I took yesterday off. Oh, thanks, man. Rocker says rocket! Rocket! Let's do this thing. I took yesterday off, actually, following the New York close on Friday. I thought I had a meeting, and it turns out I didn't. And I was like, fuck it, I'm out of here. Excuse my French. But I took a much-deserved day off and did absolutely nothing, and it was a lot of fun. So back in the saddle this morning, and actually it was interesting through the New York kill zone this morning. I was looking at Bitcoin prices, and I saw the lounge, and shout out to, I think it was Alim, who was the first one who sort of pointed it out first thing this morning. We were starting to get some breakout action on the old corn, and really, it comes down to a simple fact of comfortability. And the only way that you can approach this comfortably is, you got to have a plan. You got to know your setups. You got to know how much money you want to risk. All that stuff ahead of time. So the double bottom came in, and I'm a guy I kind of like W's. And I saw the site post, and I was like, it kind of aligns with what I do. So went ahead and pulled the trigger, and so strapped on a bot long setup. And actually, the cool part about it is this will be an example of front running the bot, and then the actual bot levels confirmed. So you're kind of like, whew. Because sometimes I've had a couple setups where you front run the bot, and the bot level never comes in. And you're like, crap. But, the whole definition of front running the bot means that the risk level is relatively small. So it's sometimes worth taking the shot, especially, if you're comfortable. If you look at a chart and you're like, okay, these are all the things that I usually like to see when I want to pull the trigger. 3 reasons, 3 unrelated reasons. You probably heard all that stuff from Brian before. But you got to do what you got to do. Sebastian says, gotta hop on the tube. All right. Well, hope he hopped successfully. Actually, there's some few people hanging out in the YouTube page. Roman says, hello, Roman. Hi, Bob. V says, hi, Brian. All right. Well, anyway, nice to see there's a few people that enjoy these offerings. Anybody who's just sort of stumbling on this video, what do you do? I mean, I'm just another trader in the market. Got together with a couple young guys that I think have very good hearts, and we're just stumbling along trying to make a positive difference in this world. So that's our story. if you never heard of it, Brian, that's the 3 of us, Julian, Stewart, and I. And actually, it's interesting. This experience, this thing called the Rational Investor that we've tried to launch and get off the ground. It's an interesting story unto itself. I suppose it'll be a chapter in the biography or autobiography, I suppose, one day. But hope we're making a positive difference in the world. That's all we really ask for. I do these hour. It's almost comical. I aim to try and do for about an hour on these free shows. So what ends up happening is they're an hour and a half. I try to go for like 10, 15 minutes on the little free videos that I do Monday to Friday, and they go usually 20, 25 minutes. It's like, Jesus. It just goes to show, if anything, probably if you're going to be watching this video, just throw me on 2x speed. I seem to be still understandable at that speed, and then that way the show does get in under under an hour. But I hope I make a positive difference in your world. That's really all that matters, right? That's all that matters at the end of the day here. So let's see what kind of damage we can do in this world karmic-wise. And I got my microphone covered by my coffee mug, so sorry about that if I faded out there. All right, so, TRI, we've invested a lot of time and energy into trying to build out a website that gives users tools to use on a daily basis and concise sort of information packages and, a nice friendly environment that you feel comfortable about waking up and coming into and chatting with the various participants on a daily basis. That's sort of the basic site proposition. Proposition? I don't know. Probably not preposition. But anyway, and I the good part about it is we got the karma thing down. We got the community down. Oh man, right out of the gate. And it was actually a really cool experience, looking back in hindsight, to sort of filter out the sort of negative people in the world. And we have a really nice little sort of community at TRI. And some people are super jazzed about that PMA kind of attitude. Others are, So, I mean, take it or leave it. But that is our bent, that PMA. So we got that kicking butt. And I'm so proud of the team and everybody on the site. We should give a shout out to all the various different site participants who contributed to that PMA, because that's not something you can really put your finger on. It's just an atmosphere. It's just you can relax when you're on TRI. I love that about this place. Building tools that are integrated in this highly computerized world, and then of course connecting with payment processing. I suppose this whole story about cryptocurrency, it's no easy task, and hats off to Sjord for sort of trying to tackle this monster. And then also, too, for sort of wrapping his head around getting data and being able to disseminate it legally, believe it or not. That's a huge issue unto itself. And building out tools that can help us screen for ideas in the market on a daily basis. And it's coming along. He's had a big sort of target date of January 1st, 2020 to get our sort of screener system up and running and operating at full steam. And I got to hand it to him. I mean, he's working really hard, and already the tools that he's building out have helped me immensely. Kind of a fun little example. Where are we here? I don't know, maybe I put it all away here, but I've been super jazzed about the fertilizer industry, which of course everybody should be super jazzed about, right? It's just the thing to do. But I believe this is a really good example of waiting for location, i.e. the bottom of trading range. Not coming in and chasing up markets kind of idea. Then in this particular case, we happen to have an original double bottom that have fired, huge rally, and very much like I talk about with altcoins with you guys. I mean, this stuff is universal. It's not like it's you learn it for crypto and then you go to the stock market and you're like, oh, everything's different. Ironically enough, if you can actually master these concepts in crypto, then you go to the stock market and you're like, holy crap, everything's moving in slow motion. It's like I could literally see everything all develop, but it's going at such a slower pace. So it's really cool in that regard. So get good at this in crypto, because keep in mind, trading crypto, and especially things like, and am I swearing? This is a good question. I want to get the feedback. There's 26 people watching this now. And oh, by the way, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, ring Colleen's bell, all that kind of stuff, right? But if you call an altcoin a shitcoin, are you technically swearing on YouTube? I don't know. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Anyway, so not to get off topic, but the point being that I think this was actually a really good example of a trade. Where just on a 52-week range set up, just great location. You're not chasing, right? And then, of course, seasonally, we want to get interested in buying into the grain markets into the November, December. And here's a really good example where, maybe you can't go and buy corn, the commodity, because I don't have a commodities contract, but are there any stock market proxies for the agricultural business? And of course, if farmers are getting higher prices for their corn, then that means there's more money into their pockets, which means that they can consider expanding their business, which means there's going to be more demand for like machinery, things like Deere, farm equipment. We could look at that chart. But here, this is another sort of offshoot that farmers, of course, if they're going to plant more acres, are going to need more fertilizer. And that's what these guys do, is they're in the potash industry. So, anyway, point of the matter here, you should, all of you are sort of on YouTube and stuff, you should, by definition, look at this and go, okay, well, I can understand exactly why that Beamish guy is interested here. Now, if you can't, then that's exactly why we built the whole school, is we want to get you to the point where you look at this chart and you go, oh, yep, I understand the seasonality, I understand the political football, and then, throw in technical analysis. I understand buying against the bottom end of ranges. I understand things like divergences. I understand W's in MACD. I understand W's in RSI and Willie. I understand this market was oversold because Willie was stupid. All that kind of conversation, right? Anyway, point of the matter here is on this day that you see boxed, Sjord's Magic Engine said, this is a upside key reversal. You ought to pay attention. And I got to tell you, man, these key reversal signals are just sick. And this is the kind of stuff that I've been talking to you guys about, that when all this stuff starts firing and the signals are coming in here and I'm doing these things on a regular basis, my God, this site is going to be it's going to be the shit. It's just is. So we're getting there. You can see like the database is populating itself out. It's slowly coming in. So, big cheerleader shout out to Sjord. Keep on keeping on. The guy's an absolute soldier, and, things are coming along really nicely. So if any of this stuff that I talk about through these videos is like, man, I just can't wrap my head around this, or I don't understand, market sets itself up and then I just become riddled with risk or with anxiety, and I just freeze up, and I don't know, or when I have the trade on and I see levels come in, I can't like act appropriately. I just get overwhelmed with FOMO. In fact, I heard people chatting about that this morning. And I need help with, trying to figure out levels. And okay, well, if I enter here and I look to take profits there and I risk to there, if I am right, do I get paid relative to when I'm wrong? And all right, what happens when I'm wrong? And can I track my behavior? All that. That's all the stuff around, building you out to help you actually even come to the market in a sensible manner, where you can act appropriately. And that's really what our school is all about. So, if anything, and I love it about Grimm, is that he seems to have really gotten the idea that we have to eat our vegetables. We have to go through the very hard process of taking the gambler out of the equation and turning this into a small business of trading, where your business is really expected to turn an annual profit. So how do you do that in a very concise, articulate way? And literally, people leave the program with all the tools and the sort of guidance on how to run a small business of trading. It's beautiful to watch, really. What you see on the screen here, this is actually what we call the candy store. And this is the fun part of the market, right? But you actually have to go and eat your vegetables before you even can get to the candy store. But for the purposes of these videos, like I said, usually what I like to do is help the level oneers if they have any particular questions from the most recent week that still were sort of floating out there. But the school right now is on hiatus. We're on Christmas break, and, you know, happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, all that kind of thing, you know, peace and joy in your life. Try and enjoy this time period with your friends and family. And I found in years gone by, it's not good to run the school program through Christmas and New Year's. It just never works. So the school kids, they're out, and I think a lot of them have written their exams, doing pretty well. So that's good to see, and, you know, moving on in the program if they choose. And also, too, I like to, you know, I answer any specific questions you guys on YouTube have. I see there's a few of you over there, so, you know, enjoy. And if you want to have, and there, Bob's even just saying that on the YouTube, Bob's program help remove a ton of anxiety from my trading. Right, I'm much more calmer and can look at FOMO from afar. Brilliant. I mean, that's really what this is all about. Crypto M says, nice show, Brian. It says can't understand. Can understand. I thought you said, I can understand why there's so few viewers. He says, can't understand. Well, you know, honestly, Crypto M, I take a lot of the sort of fluff out of this game called speculating in the market. And so, frankly speaking, it didn't surprise me that this is happening. And also, too, sadly, you know, speaking, is crypto face ripping right now? It isn't. So as a result, a lot of the viewership and stuff like that, I go like, you know, build a plan, right? Define your setups. What are the reasons that are going to get you to act? You know, take appropriate risk. Don't ever risk more than 5% of your stake on any one trade idea. Right? Boring. So that's why I think the viewership goes down. But, you know, again, all that matters here is that the message is consistent, right? So I made an effort to make sure that I was on here today talking to you guys. I like, you know, if anything, you know, seeing the fact that I produce these daily videos almost exactly carbon copy format every single day, day in, day out. Thank you so much, Kevin. The Duke of Albuquerque, you know, without this team, I don't think I could do that. But that's what a professional trader's life is all about, is that consistent, same message day in, day out. And the sad part about it is, for the good majority of the public, I turn this actually into boring. And I turn this into... oh, so you mean it's not like Lambos every day? Where's the Lambo talk? Where's that damn Lambo talk? Right? And that's the sad part about this, right? Is that I actually turn this away from the Lambo talk. But anyway, that's another. Okay, so I've been blabbing away for about 20 minutes here, so I apologize anybody who watches it and said, when the hell is he going to actually talk about the market? You know, before we get into Bitcoin in particular, I think it was kind of an interesting backdrop in that, and I won't talk about this today, but I wanted to show you, where is it? Yeah, maybe this is it. I really like the idea of actually investing in cryptocurrency companies now. And And, if anything, I think this is a really good analogy of buying when they're crying and selling when they're yelling. And it's very similar to, the altcoin kind of marketplace. And what I used to do with like the little old lady portfolio and stuff. I mean, she's already loaded up. And actually, I'm trying to buy some more. I'd be more than happy to pick up a little bit more of that UBIC down here. So I am working some bids on there. So little old lady still is doing her thing. It's just really slow in crypto proper right now. But there have been quite a few poppers. I think we'll get to crypto in a bit. I first wanted to talk to you guys about stocks. So, hopefully you look at this image and you go, holy shit, they're all just heading down. Down, down, down. The good part about, at least with the stock market, is we actually have some metrics that help us to actually see value in the stock market. So, companies have to come out on a quarterly basis and tell you, whether they're making or losing money. And we had a horrific scandal back in it's forever ago now. But back in 1996, 1997, a really, really bad scandal in the Canadian junior gold market. And since then, the Canadian regulators, if you actually participate in the junior stock market, from a company financing perspective, you literally have to sign your basically your life off, sign your name in blood kind of thing to the Canadian regulators now. Like the CEO, all the company directors have to sign off on anything that they publish. You actually have to have like what they call qualified person, who actually their only job is to be qualified. I mean, how bureaucratic is that? It's so typical Canada. I mean, we actually have jobs like a kid in high school could go, I want to grow up to be a guy who qualifies people. What the hell is that? And yet that's a whole layer of bureaucracy in Canada. Yeah, totally, eh? I don't do anything. All I do is I just put a rubber stamp on something. And I get paid a hell of a lot of money to do it. Anyway, point of the matter here is that in the stock market, there are quite a few metrics, and I was taught, thank heavens, love you, Chris Foran, God bless your soul if you're still with us. I haven't talked to him in a year or two, but he was, he was getting old, 80, 90 years old. Anyway, these old VSC floor brokers that I used to know, he taught me this sort of bread and butter model from VSC days, and it's actually really common sense if you think about the whole idea of every single company, including Microsoft or Netflix or IBM or whatever. They all have structure to them, and so this model just simply tries to identify structural cues that there's value. Insiders are long from those levels. That's a structural cue. People who were owed money, which is money, cash, they could go take you to court. They said, all right, at this level, I will forgive the debt, but you have to give me shares of the company in exchange. That's a huge cue for value. Now, I don't mean to be rude, and of course what we've seen over the past couple of years, I think, is a testament to that unfortunately we have very few cues in the quote-unquote shitcoin, whatever the hell you want to call it, the altcoin market of value. And, there were lots and lots of stories through the past bubble of, guys like Cabbage Coin, where it was blatant criminal, activity to try and steal your money. So that's the one reason why I like the stock market. Now, keep in mind, are there going to be scandals in the stock market? Sure. I mean, it's just that's unfortunately a tragic commentary on the human existence, right? This species. There are always scandals. There are always criminals. There are always bad people in this world. It sucks. But anyway, so the point of the matter here is that here's a whole bunch of names that are in the crypto space, and they're clearly trading at the bottom ends of their ranges. So what do you think Brian's doing? Call me crazy, but actually I've been in there buying. Some really interesting names. This is like, in this particular case, this is Mike Novogratz. I mean, everybody was in love with Mike Novogratz a couple of years ago. And, interestingly enough, through that sort of, and I don't even know if he actually did take advantage of it. September, I guess that was through here. But he tried to float public companies and all those kind of things. And so in essence, me coming in at the bottom end of the range here, all I'm doing is I just simply want to ride on his coattails. Hello, Michigan. Nice to see you, Jeff. Jeff, is that your name? And hello, Andre. So, interesting levels to come in. Just take a little nibble. Hopefully you look at this and go, gee whiz, that kind of looks like that little old lady altcoin crap that he was always talking about. Coming in at the bottom end of ranges, buying when they're crying, selling when they're yelling, blah, blah, blah. And then also, too, if we do crazy things like a daily price chart, what's really interesting about this one is you can actually see there was a W in this back here. Right around, is there anything that happens in the venture capital market around this time of year, November, December? And the answer I'm looking for is tax loss selling. So, I mean, I don't know whether Mr. Novogratz has got his poop together or not, but hopefully everybody can see, gee whiz, that looks very WE-ish. We're coming into that tax loss selling window. And so this, in my opinion, I think it actually represents a fairly easy sort of risk window. What I actually thought was really cool, I watched a guy about 3 or 4 months ago, and it really resonated with me. And keep in mind, I'm a student of the market too. So, I might teach a concept one way, but I hear another person say something else, and it's like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. And I heard this gentleman say, and I can't remember his name offhand, but, it's a fairly generic comment, that, technical analysis isn't really sort of like going to predict the future. What it really does is it just simply helps you identify risk and helps you articulate that risk. If I take my shot here, I have a pretty good idea that if we break these levels, my thesis is wrong. If my thesis that this is a floor is right, then I might get paid, a lot of money taking my shot here. So how can I possibly identify areas where if I take that shot and it breaks down, I have a pretty good idea that my thesis was wrong. Now, every once in a while, you see that the market breaks down, it's a trap, and then it zips back up, and you go, oh, goddamn son of a bitch, right? But that doesn't happen very often. Usually like this, what ends up happening is when W's come in, and all a W is somebody said, you go down. Then somebody at this point said, no, you stop going down, you go up. And then this guy came back out here and said, no, I said you go down. And then this guy said, oh, no. I said go up. And he actually won the battle and pushed the price up. I'm strong, look at me. So in essence, somebody here has come in not once, not twice, but 3 times at this level and said, no. And that's really what this whole idea about M's and W's is we're trying to find the no levels. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. It's just that simple. So I don't know, everybody on the YouTube, if you, because seriously, this is super ridiculously important. But I don't even know if any of you, look at that, somebody just left. They don't realize how valuable what I just said to you is the whole fucking shit of this market. It's everything. So everybody on YouTube, type what I just said there. I mean, seriously. I don't mean to be a dick, but I gotta sit here as a teacher and say, I'm not saying a damn thing till I start seeing. No. And I want you all to remember this, because they used to say, yeah, no, but, well, there are, but what ends up happening is people overcomplicate. Look at that, 3 people just left. Fuck this guy, he's an idiot. I just gave you the secret of the market, and nobody is typing it up. I asked you all to. Well, really, all I want you to do is No, 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 no. I want you to remember that. I want you to go, anytime I ever hear anybody go, no, 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 I want to think about a price chart because this stupid Beamish guy drilled it into my head one day on YouTube. No? Nobody? Ah, jeez. You're no fun. I'm serious. I mean, like, hey, there, thank you, somebody, Andrew. I mean, really, it's just that simple. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, no, no. What's a fucking W? All right. We got a buy signal. It's just that simple. I don't know whether any of you get it. So, point of the matter here is, if I start seeing W's, especially, you know, like Brian and his crazy reload zone concept. If I start seeing W's come in down at or below reload zones, well, I can start getting interested. Now, this one was kind of interesting because you can see this close level here was a little bit lower than that close, so I didn't really like the look of that. Right, there really wasn't W's, right? And this one, somebody went, no, 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 F you. Right, and then came up, no, 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 F you, right? And down we go. But there's an interesting battle going on right here. So what ends up happening here, and really this is my thesis for owning this name, is actually I want to take a shot off of this W. That's the W actually I want to risk against. So if I can somehow come in here, and this is going to be my thesis, is that if I can actually sneak my way in here, which I've done, and I'm going to simply risk to a close of this low, because my hunch is what's happening here is, you know, the market bottomed, then the market's coming back down, and this kind of spike away is more of that, no, 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 no. Right? And then they're bringing it back down, and somebody went, no, 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 and then right back down. So this is an interesting fight level in here. And like I said earlier, what I like to do is I like to say, look, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but I'm just going to let the market tell me. Somebody came in here and stepped in and defended this thing down here a number of times. So I'm going to let them defend my trade. And, you know, here's the cool thing. If this thing actually does perform at all, I mean, really, you know, you saw me do this on altcoins before. There's no reason why we can't see the same thing on stocks. At some point, probably the market wants to do something like a 50% retracement of that, which takes you up into there. So, you know, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but I think it's worth definitely considering a shot down in there. And, you know, I'll know that my thesis was right and rock and roll if this thing actually can close back up above here. But the cool part about taking a shot here is if I do actually get that pop up here, you notice that's double my purchase price. So I'll sell half at that and get my original capital back. And I'm looking for this down the road on the rest of my stock, you know, and then I'll just keep sort of spoon feeding it out. So it's just an interesting anecdote that we are coming into tax loss selling season. These stocks are right on their lows, and I've been in there nibbling away on a lot of these names if I don't already own them. So yeah, food for thought there for you, stock market wise. And, you know, we often see names like Ethereum love to turn right into the end of the year. You know, I think it's a lot of tax loss driven price action. So we'll see how that goes. But here's you know, if anything, you know, in coming years, like I think I've told you, what I'd actually like to do over the next 10, 15 years is build out this massive crypto proxy portfolio. And then into the upcoming greed cycle peak, this is just going to be a reoccurring theme you're going to hear out of me for probably, you know, if you do follow me for the next 10, 15 years, is just like we saw that manic peak in 2017, 2018 in that particular sector, the fear cycle. We now have to set the base for the greed cycle, which should peak somewhere around 2032. So get ready, folks, for the next, what is it? 2020. Next 12 years, Brian's going to be blabbing away about growth. And frankly speaking, I can see a huge growth industry here developing through the use of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So what perfect way? I mean, this is going to appeal to the crypto community, and it's also going to appeal to the stock market community. And the cool part about it, what I really want to do is see if I can build this out to cater to the registered account community and those people saving for retirement. Because I think that's actually the biggest problem in our society is people don't understand that markets actually go parabolic and actually very dependable pivots on the generational cycle. And the behavior that I saw out of crypto, actually, ironically enough, was just, it really wasn't a surprise. That's actually what was supposed to happen. And then what's shocking is the way that it unwound so quickly and so violently. That took me off guard, but I do remember hearing stories about people getting caught long gold. I used to prospect a guy when I was in the brokerage business back in the 90s, and he said, Brian, I bought my gold at $750 an ounce, and this was when gold was like $200-300 an ounce, and he said, I ain't selling it until I get my money back. And he had to sit there and wait another 10 years, but he finally got his money back. Now, the funny thing is gold in 2010 or 2005 terms, at $750, is it the same gold as 1980 $750? I don't think so. But anyway, that's how a lot of market participants look at the market. So I like the idea. Now, I still think that there's a recession that has to happen here. But I've been sort of counseling people that I actually think that we're going through a very odd sort of, I mean, we're definitely going through a transition. And of course, we have One Site OG who's a big fan of this kind of thinking. If I can find it. Where are you, Crypto Crystal Ball? Maybe I have it over here. The Saturn-Pluto cross kind of thinking. So I actually like the idea of blockchain being that transitional proxy. That's this kind of thinking. This chart's awfully messed up. Take a few minutes to set it up. But in essence, really interesting pivot we're coming into. I don't know whether it really affects the DAO per se, but what I think actually happens here is we transition from this fiat currency world, which clearly is broken and it doesn't work, and we are going to transition into this digital currency world. And you've seen that, people like Lagarde in Europe are open to unconventional monetary policy. I've tweeted out recently that the Federal Reserve has decided to change its policy after, it's been in place basically since the Volcker days. And I find it fascinating. This is a historical fascination that I have. I don't know whether anybody picked up on this, but and this is what scares the hell out of me about war, because what I find ends up happening is that a crisis happens. There are people that are put in place to solve the crisis. And as long as those people are still alive, and people that went through the crisis are still alive, then that crisis won't happen again. They'll be like, well, you know what, I remember when this happened last time, this gentleman did this, and so we should continue along that pattern. And then that person says, yes, it was highly effective, blah, 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 and this sort of trend continues. And I notice this with geopolitics, same thing. War, same thing. What I see happening is that literally almost the day that Mr. Volcker passed away, the inflation hawks disappeared. And we actually now have a U.S. Federal Reserve who's actually considering the idea that inflation is okay. Uh-oh. Oh, jeez. So, in a world that if the central government, the central planner starts saying it's okay to have price inflation and we want to sort of let it go, then that sort of can spell the almost euphoric blow off top of overlending and inflating the bubble and all that crap. And actually, it's interesting because I said I didn't want to make reference to it, but I actually think what might happen here is that the U.S. economy itself and the U.S. stock market actually might go through an absolute euphoric blow off top here. And, we know that recessions usually happen in years that end in 8s, 9s, 0s, 1s, and 2s. The problem is that that's a 5-year window. Well, thanks for narrowing it down, Beamish. So you don't know if it's going to come in 8 or 9, which a lot of people sort of a year or two ago are like, this is it, this is it, this is it. Or does it get waylaid, a few years and it comes in 01 or 02 and all hell breaks loose then? You just don't know. But I found this fascinating because I was really perplexed by the idea that the stock market could pivot on exactly 1 year. This was Christmas last year, and here we are. What the heck is going on to these people? How could they be so utterly and completely pessimistic and yet be almost exactly euphoric opposite here? It just didn't make sense to me. And so, what is the hallmark of a blow-off top? And, this happened to be the Japanese stock market, but is there an asset that maybe we could do the same thing to and see if those levels kind of align? Hint, hint, hint. All you, you should be putting your spidey senses on, right? And I would suggest maybe doing it in log scale and see if you can see some correlation, right? So what I'm actually, and it's the one thing that nobody in the market is expecting, is the stock market to go crazy to the upside, right? Everybody's, crash, 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 crash. But how do market tops actually come in? And again, you guys, and especially the people that have stuck in, somebody made reference to the fact that nobody's watching these videos anymore. Well, here's the thing, guys. I mean, ironically enough, as markets go through pivots, pivot bottoms especially, that's where actually you learn the most, because you sort of see what a bear market looks like and everybody's dying 1,000 deaths. Then you watch sort of the capitulation and the sort of sanguine sentiment, and then you start to see the consolidation, and then the interest completely leave the market, and then all of a sudden things start perking up and away we go, right? So I guess what I'm sort of thinking here is the only, and then the exact opposite, like for crypto, is if we think about what does a market top look like, a market top, you got to see everybody and their brother bullish. Right? What do you think? If you went around the world and asked people about the prospects for crypto in 2017, at the end of 2017, even through 2018, do you think that they were relatively bullish, or do you think they were relatively bearish? And I should show you guys, actually, I was going through some old files, and I took a trip to Europe in the summer of 2018, which is actually a really interesting commentary. Probably, I hate to say it, it's very sad. And if you are out there, just let me know that you're still alive and you're still managing yourself and you haven't blown yourself up. But a lot of those people that I visited, man, they've just disappeared. They've thrown in the towel. Which just goes to show, that's what a bear market does. It's brutal. Half your job here is just to not put yourself into a position to blow yourself up. And even if it means you nanny nibbled, okay, well, fine. You got 20 different proxies on just doing their thing. And there's nothing to do, then there's nothing to do, and your money's just working away. But anyway, the point that I just see here is that, and all of you that went through crypto, you just went through this. What does a market top look like? And ironically enough, the top, actually, you got to get the public in to buy. You got to get them acting stupid and just like, well, there's no end to this growth. It's just going to keep going and going and going. And I would be a fool not to be in the market. That's the sentiment that I heard a lot in that trip was, well, why are you not long crypto kind of idea? And it's like, uh-oh. But anyway, here nor there. The point of the matter here is this is an interesting way. I actually think that the market could melt up. And through this sort of crazy election thing that we're going to have happen here, and this is just purely my opinion, I could be completely wrong, but I just can't see the United States of America electing a socialist that wants and promotes the idea of raising taxes and wants and promotes the idea of soaking the rich. I just can't see that happening in the United States of America. So really, in my opinion, it's really just a question of, does Mr. Trump blow up? And I think that that's half the reason why the politicians in Congress right now are doing as much as they are, is that they need to milk this sort of, scandal kind of talk as much as possible, and they're desperately trying to find that smoking gun, right? But the irony of it all is that this is great because Mr. Trump's kind of a lame duck through all this, so he can't force through any new like major policies. They've sort of put China back in the box, and the talk is that the trade deals are going to go through and something's going to get done. So you can't say that's new news. That's old news. The earnings numbers are pretty respectable and consumer numbers relatively respectable. So there's nothing really shocking coming out of that front. So put it all, and like the Fed, they've been put back in the box and they've publicly said, we're not raising rates. We're not pissing that guy off again. Yeah, no, it's not our job to be involved in the political process. So, put it all together, ironically enough, the one thing I could actually see here is that the stock market actually melts up. And then what this might become is, when Mr. Trump was first elected, we actually had like a market bottom. And the market took off higher following that event. I could very easily see the day that he's actually, or maybe like within a week or two of his re-election to the second term, the market top comes in. And that would be almost an absolute carbon copy of this Nikkei blow-off top. And wouldn't it be ironic that he actually wins the second election, and yet that's the last thing in the world he possibly wants, where he spends basically the next 2 or 3 years of his life just going through hell. And he ends going, I am the next Herbert Hoover. And in our school program, we teach that basically every politician that's been alive since the days of Herbert Hoover has said, I will not be the next Herbert Hoover. But how perfect would it be that the next Herbert Hoover is not a politician? So neither the Democrats nor the Republicans are probably going to take a hit over it if this does play out. But the Democrats, this is, well, and I would say both of them. But it would be perfect to have this Trump guy as the fall guy, because he's not really closely associated with either political party or sort of like the 1%. So get ready, folks. This is going to be a wild couple of years ahead of us. And then, of course, is there anything that's going to happen around the middle of next year that I often see major world events often pivot around these events? And this is getting back to Brian's crazy celestial conversations. But do yourself a favor if you're into this kind of thing, and go and find out what happens in the markets and world history every time Jupiter and Saturn either cross paths or are exact opposites in our solar system. And it's shocking. It's almost like, oh my goodness, this whole fucking thing's rigged. So be wary. We're going to go through a very odd next year. The irony of it all is that actually 1 year from now, or maybe about a year and a half from now, we should be almost exactly right back where we are now. And actually, somebody should write that down. That'd be a really interesting prediction. Where about a year and a half from now, after going through an absolute insane blow off top, we should be just about exactly where we are now. and then on the other side of this, guys, seriously, and it's a bit overdue, right? Recessions only happen in years that end in 8s, 9s, 0s, 1s, and 2s kind of idea. This will take us into the end of Mr. Trump's presidency, and then some sort of Democrat comes along riding on a white horse, maybe quantitative easing 4, who knows, and we mark a base, and that's the beginning of our next cycle. So I thought that was just a really interesting study that I put together. And the similarities, like I said, are just shocking. And everybody here has a special job. Is there an asset that you guys might like that went through a parabolic blow-off top, and did its price pattern and ultimate correction follow this path? Hint, hint, hint. Question on the final exam. Okay, so I'm not quite sure. How did I get off on that tangent? What were we talking about? Stock market, I guess? I don't know. So I suppose we ought to talk a little corn here. And I got to get out of here probably in the next half hour, 45 minutes. We've been watching this, Phil B's study here. Actually, I really got to get him on the Daily Brief. I reached out to him a couple months ago and asked him if he would come on for an interview. I still don't really understand the math behind these lines, but I have to say, it's not a bad little guide. This was the best I could do to replicate his study that he did off of Twitter, I guess. And you notice here we are, yellow lines. We seem to have tagged it a couple times here, and we keep bouncing off of it. So I got to say, Mr. Phil B, that's one hell of a line. Damn. We've been also watching too. I sort of put out I love the feedback from this community in that I sort of put the question out. I wasn't quite sure how to do sort of a logarithmic chart and go back very far, as far back as possible, and somebody told me to do this BLX chart, so I tried to replicate that study too here. Interesting how yellow lines, though, they kind of disconnected here, so I don't know whether this means we have further to go here. I don't know whether this is a usable guide, to be perfectly frank with you. But I do like the idea that if you are a Bitcoin enthusiast, you believe the story, you like the fundamentals, yada, yada, yada. I mean, frankly speaking, it seems to me that you should just put yourself on an accumulation plan. Try to avoid, like hell, coming in on the tops of these moves. And you're just slowly accumulating away. We've got Sjord on the site. He's been doing dollar cost averaging, and he comes on once a week on the Daily Briefs and sort of illustrates his thinking on Bitcoin right now and talks a little bit about his dollar cost averaging plan. So I really like that part of the market. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I don't know about the efficacy of these studies. I mean, I just don't know. But they sure are pretty to look at, eh? That's good. Andre says tons of value in here. Well, that's good. So we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. I do love the fact when you can have things like technical tools, things like Fibonacci retracement levels, align with these kind of, and I don't know whether we call these fundamental. I mean, I'm using this as sort of that stock to flow kind of thinking. That logarithmic growth rate of Bitcoin usage. Shane, did you find that? Shane, are you still here? Oh, hey, did you literally post that like the second that I said your name there? That's hilarious. He totally read my mind. He knew it was coming. So one of our site OGs, great guy. He and actually another site member worked together and put together this cost of production modeling. That's really interesting. So you can see the various cost of production of different miners. Oh, I love this. So these are different mining rigs as they were sort of brought to market, and when people could actually start buying them. Is that correct, Shane? Man, that's super cool. We got a like there, and when they are released, yeah. So I'm a big fan of Shane, and I think this is excellent material. I'll share that on the YouTube page. I'll even just throw it in the lounge too. Such good quality work, Shane. So I liked it. Now, how do I add to my favorite scripts? All right, we'll throw that in there. And we'll say, way to go, Slick. That umbrella is still in my hallway. Because the last script that he put out, I was like, oh, nice work. What do you guys forgot your umbrella? And somebody went, LOL, that's not really fair to you. But anyway, I'll post that. Nice work, Dan. So, this is sort of the other side of the conversation. So if you're thinking fundamentals, this is kind of that stock to flow, logarithmic natural growth rate. We know that the supply of Bitcoins is relatively limited. And if it's on a natural growth rate, then, how does that growth look like over time? And then, like I said just a moment ago, this is, what the hell did I do with it? Did I have it on here? No. Yeah, boy. Oh, wow, nice rally. Rally, picture's named Sally. Okay, am I on drugs? Where did it go? Is it over here? There it is. Good. And actually, you know what? Yeah, I did post it in the lounge. I'm going to pin that. And I also want to put it in the library, too. So remind me to do that if I forget. Shane. Such nice work. So this is the other side of the equation that, if Bitcoin is going to stay alive, what is it going to take, right? And this is the kind of idea that, maybe mass adoption is not here. And we're just going to go back to bare bones, right? And this thing's just going to operate as a functioning network, and the public's not even the slightest bit interested. What does it take to keep this damn thing alive? And I believe it's a function of what is the cost of production. And I believe that that's how this story is going to play out over time. As I said, Shane's done some fantastic work here. And you can see that there's a bunch of cost of production that are still substantially lower than current prices. But of course, on the halvening, all of these numbers should basically double. Is that correct, Shane? Yeah. So what'll end up happening is this guy up here, his cost of production is going to be way up here. They're going to be put out of business, right? And anybody who's using this yellow line Antminer S9, it's going to be a waste of their time. Now, there is an interesting sort of side debate because there's basically two functions here. The whole sort of, the algorithm, the payout, how many people are participating in the mining. I think they call it the hash rate or whatever. And I apologize for the whatevers. I don't want to belittle that. That's super important. But then of course, like the cost of the actual GPUs and ASICs and, the actual physical equipment. And then there's the idea of the cost of production from the electricity side. And there is debates that some governments are subsidizing electricity for entities, others aren't. I think it goes around the world. Kevin was telling us a great story about how even in his state, if you actually go and talk to the utility providers, you can actually haggle with them if you buy in size. And that makes sense. So I don't think it's necessarily just a China, is massively subsidizing electricity. I think you can do deals anywhere around the world. And, like we got Mr. Deal as the President of the United States of America. The United States of America right now, I think, is Monty Hall's Let's Make a Deal. You got a good deal to do? I think they're open and receptive to doing a deal. So, take it for whatever it's worth. You can incorporate that kind of conversation into this as well. But I do like this kind of thinking at the bare minimum of just trying to figure out, okay, what does it take to keep the network alive? And that means we got to have Bitcoin ledger validated, and that is what we call mining. And so, interestingly enough, I've seen this two times in particular. We will know that all of the marginal players and the network is starting to get into troubled territory because all the marginal players have been liquidated or forced out of business. We will know that we're very, very close to the uncle point where price can't go much lower when we start hearing talk about 51% attack. So I don't hear any of that talk right now, so that's good. It's good in that the network isn't in trouble. But also, too, maybe it means that there's still some wiggle room for a lot of people to still participate in the market. Once that halving event comes, it'll be really interesting to see where Bitcoin price is and where all these different participants are. Anyway, interesting angle. So that's sort of the way I like to look at fundamentals, is I like to ask, okay, so, are you thinking of it as a growth story? And so as a result, are we looking at these kind of numbers? And it's interesting, Phil B's level was hit again. And gee whiz, that happens to be in a reload zone, so it really shouldn't shock anybody. Or are we looking at, the sentiment in the space is really poor. So where is sort of the base value proposition? Interesting debate. I suppose everybody's kind of like, well, Brian, enough of that nonsense. Just what the hell is the damn price going to do? I mean, frankly speaking, nobody knows exactly what the price is going to do. What we do with technical analysis is try to identify levels that we can see that others with deeper pockets have come in and said, no more down, you go up, right? Na, 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 na. Everybody remember, na, 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 na. I have to say there's a bunch of na, 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 na kind of anecdotal evidence here. I'm a little concerned that we may be laying traps still. I don't know whether this is the best place to start this conversation. Let's maybe go to that weekly price chart. Where is it? There it is. All right. So we all, you guys have been watching this a while now. So we all saw that nasty reversal off the top there, inside bar. I think we've been talking about that for quite a while now. Failure, break to new lows, close at new lows. Was this a mountain man wash level? It kind of felt like it to me. We are in big green boxes, and the interesting about this is a reload zone within a reload zone. So that can often be really powerful, right? And what the hell do I mean by that? Well, we have this monster honking range, 61.8 to 78.6. That's this big old box here. And you can see how the original double bottom came in right on a recapture of the bottom of that box. Boom, up we go. But then, just over the past year or so, price action from here back down to here, well, that's this area, and that is a reload zone. Let's see, do I have that one on here? We go reload zone. Let's see. There we are. 61.8 to 78.6. Is this the bottom? It's a bit tough to say. On the weekly basis, we got a pretty nasty bearish signal here coming off that inside bar failure. And that's up there at about 8,900. And you notice that we went zoom straight down. It's interesting how we dead cat bounced off of those lows, did another inside bar, and then started to melt down again. And notice that we actually broke these lows, but then quickly jackknifed out of there. It's interesting too how I have this arrow. I posted this arrow on this chart when we were rallying up top here. And I kind of was like, you know what? There's a bunch of trapped bears in here that if we do get down into here, man, they would so love to be released. So that is actually a bit of a liquidity pool, that big old tail in there. So if you're watching this future, right, maybe you're like, well, I can't do anything about it now, Brian, but, you know, take a screenshot of this. Right? And just when you see markets go zooming up, and you see these big tails, you have to think, you know, there's a bunch of trap. Because keep in mind, this opened up, beep, and it went down. And the only way it goes down is with somebody selling. So, and then it quickly jackknifed back up, and those guys that didn't cover their positions, they're sitting there going, oh, crap, now what do I do? Oh, Jesus, oh, I'm getting killed here, man. Oh. And they have to sit and wait, especially if they're institutional players. They just have to sit and wait. All right, I'll cover the position. Yeah, I'm going to have to ride a down market. Maybe I'll go buy a call on Deribit or something like that to offset the risk in the short term. Yeah, take it easy, Shane. Thanks. See you on Tuesday. Hopefully. Maybe. Shane is my Deribit contact. We've got a cute little local Deribit trading group going here, so we'll see how that goes over the next few months. Anyway, point of the matter here is we did break these lows, and because we did break those lows, and this was an inside bar fail, it's kind of like, oh, Jesus, well, there's no bottom yet. Now, in very typical trading fashion, woo, big rally right off of those lows. On the weekly basis, I think we talked to you guys about this recently. I like to use things like a 13 EMA. There's a lot of traders that used to like to use like a 9 EMA. But you notice, like, big move, check. 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 Hopefully you guys are getting the message here. Big move, check. I like to use the 13 EMA as sort of like the check. Right? So, big move, check. I'm still a bull. Big move, oh, check. Right? Still a bull. And then, uh-oh, now I'm bearish. But notice, big move, check. So here we are pushing the new lows. Break, 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 break. And can you guys see the check that seems completely natural to me that could very easily happen? I don't see any reason why that couldn't happen. So going short down here, especially in like double green boxes, oh boy, man, this is risky trading. I got to tell you, it's kind of like, I remember last winter, there were lots of kids in public crypto and stuff that were short here. And I'm like, oh goodness, shorting below green boxes. This is dangerous. So what I kind of saw through the week there was, yes, this thing was eroding lower. We actually had, very short-term, hourly day trader kind of guys. We had bearish objectives hit. And then all of a sudden, she just spiked right off the lows, almost like typical CME FU fashion. And what sort of leads me to believe that I don't know whether this is too long-lasting is that these damn CME guys, I think they're really driving the bus here. You notice that they came down into the gap here. And they've done this now to the crypto community a couple times. Notice dip into this big old gap. And there were guys like that were like, principles in cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. And very, very, very smart computer people that are now all of a sudden they're traders. And they're like, oh yeah, well, CME gap, this is so simple. We got to fill this in. So if that many people are following that, then oh my goodness, the CME guys are going to have some fun with them. So they dip it into the gap. Everybody goes, oh yeah, gap's filled. So they take it out and then, not yet. So in a weird sort of way, I really think that the CME people are really messing with the crypto kids in here. And what sucks about this is that this gap technically has not been, quote unquote, filled in yet. And I even sort of mentioned that. If anything, what we really want to see is the market come down and just close down here. Close the gap with a candle body, and then we're done. What I'm worried about here is, there's a holiday season right now. They could easily take this thing right back up, just a simple trend line resistance, and then after the new year, we come back down and do that kind of thing. I could easily see a scenario like that. So just be aware, everyone. This gap on CME, it has not actually been technically filled in yet. Sucks, but that's how I feel. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully Beamish is wrong. As you can sort of see here off of the short-term basis, these are all the futures and forwards contracts. There is that violent spike. And, I used to work with a lot of CME floor traders and stuff that actually, I don't know where the best place to show you that is. That's not there. Yeah, probably not there. I used to know like floor traders, and we actually have a setup on the site, for futures traders. The SFU, where actually the setup is to have your order to buy right on a break of those lows. I don't know whether that's high octane crap, and this is an extremely volatile asset. So, that's not my temperament. Maybe if I was day trading futures contracts again, I might go back into that business. But just off of things like the daily or weekly charts, just blindly buying markets, moving to new lows, that's pretty damn risky stuff. But you can see, if you withstood the heat here, well, turned out to be a half decent idea. Could we actually see the same thing where this rally here actually translates into a move all the way up here? Sure. I mean, the screwy thing about this, you can see the fibs that I've drawn. How ironic, if you believe this sort of reload zone concept that I like to talk about. If you look at this range right here, ironically enough, a rally into 8,800 all the way up to 9,500 is actually the level where the big boys are going to start thinking about shorting again. Isn't that incredible? So strap on your seatbelts here at 73, 7,400. There could easily be another $1,000 ahead of us here. And the irony of it all is it doesn't change the trend. The trend is still down. So, oh my goodness, this is a very, very choppy action in here. And people were saying, why are so few people going to watch these videos now? Well, the problem here is this is an extremely difficult area, and we're trending lower. We're dead cat bouncing off of lower time frames. Can the lower time frame traders trade? Sure. But for Joe Sixpack, is this sort of like a really friendly, quiet, easy trade for you to take? No. This is challenging stuff. In the middle of a downtrend, interesting. There was this Ethereum short setup that I think on balance, and especially off things like the weekly charts, it's fairly straightforward. If we are going to dump into a year end, and Ethereum often likes to dump into year end, what does that sort of look like? I was thinking just this move here following that Istanbul release that basically landed flat on its nose. If we just trend continuation our way down here, then I think a stab below $100 is perfectly realistic. But again, too, you see where 13 EMA here is on this weekly chart. Could we rally right back up against this high and make like a big head and shoulders pattern? Sure. Right? I mean, this could turn into something like that. Totally possible. So anybody who was shorting this, I like that inside bar fail. It was a bought short level, so I don't really have a problem with the trade. You're going to have to check. This is Finex, and there's some funny business going on in Finex these days. I don't know versus all the other exchanges whether move stop to trailing level has been hit. We're so close that really, do you have to be a hero here? I don't think so. I think you can actually make the argument that kind of like Bitcoin, which we'll see in a moment, it kind of looks like there's bullish setups trying to work here. But on balance, if you had your move stop to, and gee whiz, that's awfully close, eh? If you'd have your move stop to a trailing level, I think at the minimum you probably want to hop off if we break these highs. And like I said, for those lower time frame players, I can actually see a bullish setup that looks like it fired somewhere in here, and it looks like it wants to take us up into here. So interesting market state. How much of the sort of juice do you want to squeeze out of the beet or onion at the bottom of the market? That's a tough one. I'm feeling like, especially with the year end here, that don't fall in love with shorts, because once the year end's done, I could very easily see. Remember, green zones, right? Is this really where you want to be a hero on shorts and ride this? I don't think so. I think, if anything, this is strong opinions lightly held. If the market gives you any sort of signs of, I'm not going to accept lower here, I think you just cover your shorts and just, hop off. And so what? I mean, take small profit, move stop at scratch, big deal. As I said, on things like Bitcoin, actually, I've got longs going right now. So, also, too, I thought it was really interesting to see Litecoin, we had this big AB equals CD, and man, I talked about this level forever, and of course everybody hated me when I talked about this. Again, green boxes. Do we really want to be too aggressively short at or below reload zones? It's tough. I wouldn't recommend it. But then, anyway. So it was interesting to see how the market came down, hit that AB equals CD objective, and the market just simply ran out of sellers here. I thought that was fascinating. So probably the best tell here in this whole space is probably watch how Litecoin acts in here. And same sort of thing, 13 EMA on the weeklies. That's sitting right now at, where is that? 53, 54 bucks, somewhere in there. Yeah, about 54. So sitting here at 41. You can still see this thing put on a good 20, 30% here. Is this a trade per se, especially off of these levels? No way. But really interesting PRZ. And if anything, for a guy like me, you see kind of how I have this drawn on here. For me to turn like weekly bullish, I actually want to see a nice sort of sideways consolidation here. Take the volatility out of the market, that kind of idea. Paint a really good looking W. You see how long this one took, right? If this is the bottom, who knows, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks. So that's basically 2 months. Let the breakout come. If you wanted to buy the breakout, you see you got a nice little check there. So you could have gotten filled. In on the W. Let's see where this thing takes us. So, at best, and you can see how this kind of tried and then failed. So now we have to sort of wait. We got to wait for the kind of try. We got to wait for the no, right? And then boom. So we'll see. It's encouraging, right? Obviously performing the best out of all of these. And at some point we have to start thinking about when the hell this damn halvening is going to start taking effect. What are we? I guess we're about 5.5 months away from it now. But, if we start thinking about higher time frames on the old corn, which one is it I wanted to show you? I guess, where are you, weekly chart? Well, actually, maybe let's look at the dailies. Okay, too many charts. My head's gonna explode without the damn chart go that I was looking at earlier. Huh. Okay, that's weird. Oh, maybe this is it. All right, so couple things I noticed. First off, I thought I had the weekly chart on here. 4 hour? Huh, isn't that bizarre? Give me a second here, because what I wanted to show you was... Here, this is the chart I want to show you. It is a weekly chart. Oh, great. Oh, that's not weird how I missed that one. The internals are actually starting to look a little encouraging here. We'd ideally like to see, keep my weekly chart, right? So we'd ideally like to see a situation of higher green volume bars. Which just sort of shows that the bull's in control and all that kind of stuff. And we'd like to see that the red bars, the selling bars, are just quieting down, or basically the sellers are going to sleep. So it's interesting. We got 1, 2, 3 highs on the red bars, and notice what's the lowest bar in here? Well, it's I think that one, 40,000. So here we are, 47,000. So not quite a sign that the bear's gone to sleep, but encouraging. And if we get a bar lower than this 40,000 on a weekly basis, and it's a down bar, I think it means the bears have finally just said, we're done. So that's encouraging. And notice with this uppy action, especially off of this crazy weekly candle here, we're actually trying to turn OBV back up. I mean, well, who knows what's going to happen by the end of the day? I mean, maybe the market accepts higher. Maybe we just totally crap out here. Who knows? But it is a Sunday. And notice, too, if we start looking at MACDs, right, the high there is minus 37.2, 372.8. And we're at minus 4.6. So notice we're getting turny on MACD. That's encouraging. And then we look at our oscillators, and gee whiz, we're starting to see W-type price action. The only thing that's sort of missing out of this is I would have loved my overbought, oversold indicator to be like below minus 80, and it's sitting minus 77 right now, minus 76.97. So we never did get what I like to call stupidly oversold. So maybe if this little pattern fails and we have one more dump, maybe that's what takes Willie stupid. But nonetheless, I mean, you can see on Willie WE action. RSI. Everybody loves watching RSI Ws. Boy, everybody can see. Now, the way that I look at RSI here is I like to see two Ws. So the first W here, I think this stops the bear slide. Boom. So, and then, you know, I suppose you could argue that it's like that. But the point here is what I want to see is I want to see a W. We kind of W'd here, but then crapped right out. Not really the best. But this actually looks pretty good. So this W, if it does confirm here, we'll see. I mean, this is a weekly price chart. But if this W does confirm here, then to me, that says that the bear move has stalled. And that's very normal, very natural. To actually turn this into a new bull market, we actually want to see, and where's the 50 line? There it is there. We actually want to see another W come in. And if that develops, we get a second W, then that starts firing. And usually what I do is I color the first W blue. That's sort of an indication that whatever this move was is ended. And then if we actually start trending and it's through the 50 line, then I like to do a yellow. And this is the get ready, here comes the rally. This is a weekly chart, right? So, I mean, you can see this is putting us well out into the spring. So it's going to take some time here, folks. But the point of the matter here is this is encouraging. We're finally starting to see signs of the slide stopping. And you can see last time that the first W came in this weird one way, you can sort of see there's the first W. We never really did put in a second W through that 50 line. You have that cute one, and that's probably your big blow-off rally. So, you know, in this case, and I'm just rambling here. Hope you guys are getting some sort of value out of this. This is kind of a sloppy one. It's not the way I would ideally like to see it develop. But what is that? Yeah, 59. So through the 60 level. You know, this is your, I'm a bull, look at me, rawr. So let's see what that looks like. What is it? Whoops. Yeah, okay, so you see there's that 50. I'm a bull, look at me, roar, right? And that's woohoo, look at me. Right? So that's your bull. So encouraging to see. You know, we're getting W's, which is saying, okay, maybe this slide is done. That's good to see. And like I said, MACD trying to W out, volumes coming in here. You know, ideally what we really want to see is we want to see this week finish out above that number, 92,529. This happens to be on Coinbase, excuse me. Coinstamp. I just came up with a new exchange. 92,529, and we're at 78. So really, all you guys in lunch should be able to go do this. Let's go and buy me another, 14,000 Bitcoins here before the end of today. And that will actually paint a nice volume reversal, and that will probably force the OBV to W out here. Good sign, right? So I think the weekly charts are actually trying to speak to us a little bit here, believe it or not. Now, like I said, this is the middle of Sunday. All hell could break loose by the end of today. Who knows? So you're going to have to let that beep finish, close. And then the cool part about it is you can see some, we'll probably get some sort of counter trend rally up into here. But you can see how they're setting up this tail as a trade location down the road. So my hunch is there's probably like a nice little short-term trade. Takes this, it's Christmas. If anything, there's going to be a bunch of kids that are going to want to, hey, I'm trading Bitcoin, Bitcoin. Do you think there's any moms and pops that are going out and buying a little bit of Bitcoin for their kids into Christmas? I think so. And then, they'll be all frothy and, big smiles on their faces, running down to the computer to go blow their Bitcoin on what? Shitcoins, right? So we get sort of a nice little FOMO rally, frothy Christmas morning, Christmas day, maybe even into Boxing Day, and then be careful. So that's kind of what I'm sort of seeing in the market right now. So there's your, higher time frames. Things are actually looking a little bit better, And somebody's saying that there might even be a W here on the line chart. Line. Oh, hello. That's good to see. We really do want to see, and actually this is also good because that's an LJ too, right? Problem is, if we're going to go off of candles, then I really want to see the LJ fire on a candle basis. So I don't know about that W there, but really interesting to see how we've got, this clothesline, that clothesline there, that clothesline there. You might even be able to do like a clothesline LJ here. There to there. Oh, no. Well, maybe. It's a bit of a stretch, but, nonetheless, it's just nice to see W's. And we haven't W'd yet, right? You don't know what the hell's going to happen here by the end of this candle. And, you can't push a chain, that kind of stuff. But I do like what I'm seeing here. It is making sense to me. I think we sort of saw on the daily charts, it doesn't look nearly as crisp. And if anything, what I'm kind of thinking is this looks, it looks very AB equals CD. So somebody was kind of like, well, can you explain AB equals CDs? All this is try and think of AB equals CDs as the market never moves in one direction from beginning to end. It always has to move sort of back and forth to try and work its way into targets. So usually the initial move is only half of the move. And then you're just going to simply draw a line off of whatever that level is, and I just eyeballed this, right? And then you're just going to take that and you're going to say, all right, if that's the first half, then there's got to be some sort of consolidation, and then what does the second half look like? And so you just clone this line, take this line, draw it off of there, and boom, you have now drawn your AB equals CD. So it looks to me like the market over the short term is shooting for sort of this 8,000 area. And actually when we look at other time frames, actually that number makes a lot of sense. So hopefully that helps with just little AB equals CDs. But the problem here with the dailies is they look okay, but I don't know. Maybe I'm asking a little too much here. I don't know. Strong volume, weaker volume. So off of the dailies, I'm not overly impressed. Like I said, everybody in the lounge go and buy one Bitcoin here now, and everybody watching on YouTube go and buy, let's see, there's 60 people watching, so 14,000 divided by 60. Who can do the math? About 100, 200 coins. Everybody on YouTube go, no, we just lost a couple people. Anyway, point of the matter here is I want to see some more volume, and ideally what I'd love to see is just a massive surge where we take this volume bar out, and then you can see the higher highs and stuff rock and roll. So really what we want to see is on a daily basis more than 22,500 traded. So far we've done about 8. So we need somebody to come in and buy another 12, 13,000 Bitcoins, please. Nice to see. We're finally getting divergence here coming in on the MACD, so that's encouraging. Willie did go through stupid and also a bit of a divergence there, and you can see RSI lines pushing through that 50 level. So that's all very encouraging. I like this rally here. The only problem here is that I want to see the divergence. I want to see all this stuff come in, and then I want a W to actually get me to go long. So I really don't have anything off of the dailies, because keep in mind, remember, that was a new low there. So what does that mean that I'm sort of seeing right now? And what I think it is it's kind of a lower time frame setup. I put out tweets and stuff to the effect that, we've been battling at this 61.8 for a long time. And I do think that there's just a lot of shenanigans going on. Remember, that's that funny gap. Is it a gap? Isn't it a gap level on things like CME contracts? We popped off. That's that sort of FU move, run the stops, liquidity event, and big counter trend rally right into moving average resistance, 200 SMA. Interesting how we have this low line here that did play as a bit of a pivot, and you can see the market's pivoting off of that level as we speak. There is that 61.8 off of that massive time frame. If you zoom all the way out. So I think if the market does eventually lose this level, then we got to go down to 78.6. And you can sort of see all the extension levels. If this does not hold and there is some sort of, M that comes in here and we start painting lower on momentum, then my hunch is we're going to be gunning for these like 5,300. Maybe that's what has to happen after Christmas. Could be. As I had sort of shown you earlier, ironically enough, with this massive range, we can't even really ask whether this range is still a bull or a bear until 38.2 has been tested. And in a weird sort of way, I think that's kind of what this was, this counter trend rally. We never did get back to 38.2, which in itself is actually very bearish sign. And indeed, we rolled over and made a new low. So I still think that if we actually want to ask whether this really is still a bear or whether it is a bull, we have to see this level tested and resolved. And gee whiz, that's Mr. 8,000 again. Notice that number keeps popping up here. You could make the argument that we dipped below value and the market just couldn't find any business to be done. There just wasn't anybody interested. So this was asking, are we going to accept back into value? And if this sort of consolidation that we've seen over the past week and then this press higher is for real, then in essence, this is accepting back into value. So who can tell me where 80% of the time market wants to go? If we accept back into value. So is anybody still watching over there on YouTube? What? Did he say something? Oh, crap. He asked us another damn question. Oh, my goodness. What the hell is this guy talking about? I'm not supposed to work while I watch YouTube videos. Nobody? Come on. I don't know how long it takes for these things to be. Somebody says I'll add some volume. All right, Mr. Coyne. Thank you. Well, okay, fine. Higher. All right. All right. So there's somebody who's there's Owen. He's taking the course. Anyway, yeah. So we should 80% of the time. This is a core concept that we teach in our program, of course, when you do level 2 volume profile. 80% of the time, if we accept back into value, and I think that's what this conversation is, do we W out here? Do we press higher? Then 80% of the time we should go up and tag value high, which, gee whiz, is $9,000 here. Jesus H. Christ. I think we're probably going to run into a huge brick wall here because everybody can see. We affectionately call this a muak. So if you want to know what muak means, Google that. It's Spanish. So my hunch is, again, notice that muak is right around that 8,000 area. So And you can kind of see the fractal developing here. I don't know whether you can see this or not. But you could sort of go like boom. Actually, no, this is not what I wanted. That's a harmonic. I wanted a fractal. Where's fractal? There we are. So that's something like this to there, to there, to there, to there, maybe back to there, and then like that. So, nice little rally into Christmas. Kids open up their stockings, run down to the computer, spend their Bitcoins, and then price dumps. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. It would be a natural 38.2 retracement. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. You can see there's a couple trapped bulls up in here. These guys would love nothing more than to be released. You can see they're going through the process and asking whether they really want to release these guys. All the people that FOMO bought here, right now they're going, oh, thank God. Just get me the fuck out of there. Just get me out, 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 get me out. That's what's going on right now. And if we, of course, accept higher, break through these highs, then probably there's your next stop up there and ultimately up there. And remember, through that Bybit competition, right, I strapped on a little long up here and then got the hell out when that level failed there. So there's probably still guys that bought on that Bybit competition sitting up there that are just waiting. Please get the price back up there so I can get out. So I think that's sort of what's going on right now. It's fascinating how we just keep oscillating right around this 61.8. So, off of the lower time frames, I kind of like what I saw here. Market washed out, big rally up, and then I sort of put out tweets after that rally. Okay, does she have legs? Are we going to crap out, or are we going to work our way up? There is that higher time frame, 38.2, $8,000. And I think maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, I put this out, and I had bullish levels drawn, and I had bearish levels if this was a bearish bot working its way down. In essence, the market just parked itself for a pretty long period of time. I don't know whether we've actually broken out here yet or not. Like I said, all these trapped bulls in here, they're in the process of being released, but you can see there's not a hell of a lot of new buying interest coming in up here. So I'm not totally convinced that we've broken out. The interesting thing is I like to, they call it I call it front running. But I like to sort of anticipate moves if they, if I look down at my indicators and I'm like, okay, well, we got, signs of bullish divergence. We got signs of W's coming in on things like RSI and then acceptance above 50 lines, those kind of things. We got volume that's punching OBV higher here. So if I start seeing a bunch of that kind of anecdotal evidence, Brian, he kind of likes W's. So hopefully everybody goes, oh, gee whiz, the market went down, went up, went down, went up, went down, went up, went down, went up, went down, boom! So, my bot setup, I ideally want to have 1 low, 2 lows, ideally like 3 solid lows. And again, remember, no. I mean, they've done it a lot of times here. I have no idea whether this thing's going to work its way higher. But remember, what's the whole point of technical analysis? At least now, if I take this W, then what it's really saying is, okay, well, you've defined your risk window. There is my risk window. And I'm just going to simply say, I'll let the na-na-na-na-na-na-nas defend me. And if this is indeed a bull, well, then I'll play these levels. So I did go in and buy. I sort of front run the bot, and I was very pleased to see that the bot levels at entry actually triggered. So I'm long from a little bit lower than the bot. And if we can rally up to this 75, 73, which is nothing more than the demand for this asset overwhelms all these trapped bulls, and we can push up through the top, we might even see like a liquidity push where they know there's a whole bunch of stop loss orders on people that shorted. So they might push it up through there. But regardless, if I hit 75.73, then I can move my stop to scratch, which in this case would be 73, and I built in a little bit of a cushion on the trade. So I've got a long on. Right now I'm still risking against these lows, and if this craps out and fails, so be it. That's a trader's life. Shit happens. If we rally up into this 73, 70, 75, 73 area, then I'll be moving my stops to scratch. And ultimately, I'm looking for this 8104, or in essence, that's that test of that 8,000 area. And that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin right now, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. I do have to go get ready for the boy. You can even see if we drill down to lower time frames, there could very easily be a top coming in here. I'm not going to try and second guess this. This W pattern, it took quite a while to develop. So I kind of feel like the path of least resistance for the time being is higher. And I'm long. And I'm just going to enjoy the ride. So I hope you guys... yeah, so there's Daniel. He's already shorting the top here. Way to go, dude. So the point here is there's a million different ways to trade, everybody. The most important thing here is... you got to try and make this as least anxiety as possible. So that's the whole point of building plans. And it's the whole point of going through the process and learning what, statistical odds of success, or what they call that thing called edge, right? It's a process that you're going to have to go through. If you want to do this thing called trading, I mean, some people love it. Other people, they just don't have enough time. You might even have to go through the process just to try and figure out whether you can even realistically consider trading like this. It's a process to learn. And then, of course, all about risk management. And in a weird sort of way, again, that's a process too, where you're going to have to sort of figure out where you're... okay, I can take this trade comfortably level is. And I can absolutely guarantee you, when you first start out at this game, that should be 0. I am paper trading. I'm trying to figure out what the hell these guys are doing. And then I got to convince my subconscious that what these guys are doing actually works. At least when they say that they're right, they get paid a lot more than when they're wrong, because that's really the key to making money at this game. Our level 1 instructor, he doesn't want you considering risking your hard-earned money in the marketplace till 100 trades. 100 paper trades. I think you can get away with it if you trade a setup mistake-free 20 trades and then 20 1/10 account size trades. But frankly speaking, I have no problem whatsoever when Grim says, nope, I want 100 paper trades. That's fine by me. But, and somebody was asking earlier, why is there such low viewership of this channel? Well, it's because I say stuff like that, right? Is that Lambo talk, right? Is that you're going to get rich quick talk? That's, you're learning how to run a small business of trading talk. You're learning that this is a profession talk. You're learning... this isn't easy talk. You're learning that this takes a lot of time, effort, patience, and discipline talk. So, there you go. All right, so, I've been blabbing away. Thank you for that feedback, boo-hoo-hoo-007. As you can see, I'm just working away my trade here. I have no idea what's going to happen. Live by the sword, die by the sword. So, I'm very active in the stock market. I really want to drive home that I think there's incredible opportunities within the venture cap space in the stock market because of tax loss selling season. So really hunt good structural names. Do your fundamental research because I think this is actually a fantastic buying window for them as well. So I think I'll leave it at that. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best. PMA for the win. Try and play from a position of strength. If you don't know what that position of strength looks like, well, that's the whole point of this school, where we take people from not knowing anything to, all right, I think I can run a small business of trading here, and I have a pretty good idea what edge is and risk management and removing anxiety from the trading process. So Okay, guys. Have a great day. Oh, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, all that kind of stuff. All the best. And the only thing left for Brian to say here is bye for now.